Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with Devil's Reign from Top Cow and Marvel. After tricking the Silver Surfer into powering up a spaceship, Mephisto traveled to a new universe to corrupt and conquer. His plan saw a bit of a hitch when Ghost Rider showed up, but after fighting along Psyblade against her corrupted buddy Killraiser, the two Universal natives vanished without a trace. And from there, we pick up with Ghost Rider Ballistic. The cover sees its stars kinda looking like they're posing for a biker magazine for pyromaniacs. Written by Warren Ellis, with art by Billy Tan Moon Koi, D-Tron, Richard Eisenoff, Tyson Wengler, and Greg Hammond, we begin with a woman covered in blood, and a necklace of fingers, driving a cab with a guy that looks like he's got a bottle opener stuck in his head.
Explain it to me again, Patty. My head hurts so bad.
Well, that's what happens when you try to get creative opening a bottle of Fanta. She explains that their world has no god of death, and souls aren't really used for anything, when they could be a source of energy or a form of currency.
What do you mean these pants cost 5 souls? Your website said they were 3!
Energy or money? Do the Ghostbusters need to rethink their business model? Anyway, she elaborates.
So, Mephisto, who's like some death god on the lam, he wants to set up shop here.
And to be on good terms with them, they need to just kill everyone they see.
He tried dropping his death note near a high school, but no one picked it up. Freaking kids were all glued to their smartphones and tablets.
How come there's a comet with us in the Midtown Tunnel here?
A comet? I thought Greg Universe retired from the music industry. No, it's our title characters, on a vertical 2-pager, riding up alongside the tunnel like a bonus level in a Sonic the Hedgehog game, firing wildly and laughing maniacally together. First dates, am I right, folks? We jump back a few hours, when our female co-star was in a bar, barely inebriated, and lamenting getting hit on by barflies, which may explain why a couple of them are unconscious on the ground. One guy, whose nose she apparently punched off, is part of a gang of generic minion scum of Mephisto, who each declare their love for Ballistic in various ways. Mostly creepy ways involving her bearing their children.
Jeez, you guys are uglier than 7-day-old roadkill.
Which is extra insulting because they clean themselves up to look like 3-day-old roadkill. Now, here's the thing about Ballistic, real name Cassandra Lane. Yeah, a lot like a certain someone's name. She is a cyborg with a mechanical arm, but she also has a mutant ability of precise hand-eye coordination, meaning she never misses. Demonstrated when she fires through her jacket, hitting one of them in the face with each shot, though he does regenerate. She warns them to back off, but they decide to charge her, maybe tear her into pieces so each of them can marry a part of her. It's their anime body pillow argument all over again.
I'm nobody's sex muppet.
Speaking of, I know where you can find it. Oh, no.
Freaking internet ruins everything. One of them ensnares her with his tongue, and she gets knocked back behind the bar. After a moment of silence, she cuts them all in half with what looks like lightning from a handheld weapon. Wow, the Federation upgraded their phasers something fierce. One manages to get the drop on her, and before he does anything grosser than lick her chin, his head is shattered by the chain of Ghost Rider, busting through the wall. Okay, folks, hear me out on this. The Kool-Aid Man is a spirit of vengeance. He explains that her Cyberforce allies were concerned for her, figuring she'd be in some degenerate sinkhole and unaware of the current danger.
I chose to ride into this New York to find you for them. This was not difficult. It was much more difficult for the 6 other bars I rode into before this one.
No explanation as to why Cyberforce didn't join him after this conversation that took place between chapters. He explains he's from an alternate Earth, tasked with finding Mephisto and making him face vengeance for the suffering and murder he's caused. Ballistic wants a look at the horrors he's talking about, after lighting a cigarette on his face flames, which I bet happens a lot. If he's the spirit of vengeance, would his flames purify the toxicity of cigarettes? You know, since tobacco companies used a lot of shady methods to hide how bad they were for so long? Probably no, huh? Going up a few stories, she gets a better idea of the situation at hand, as smoke billows through numerous city blocks. Though he does ride a motorcycle with fire wheels, so maybe Danny took the scenic route. He explains that the demon's minions, not alive in the traditional sense, are killing people to harvest their souls for their master, as Mephisto makes himself a base in Times Square. With Cyberforce somewhere else, for some reason, she hops on the rider's motorcycle, suggests heading on over, shooting some people,
and play football with the heart of the beast. If only for the delicious irony of using it in a Hail Mary play.
So they barrel into Times Square, overrun by demons, and begin taking them down by chain or firearm, until they hit reverse upon being confronted with a giant firehead of Mephisto telling them to amscray.
Away from here! Seek thee out the diamond in the rough!
They retreat up a building, but it's not easy to tell with all that black at the top of these panels. Did Venom get sent here too? It seems their enemy has fed on more souls, and far quicker than anticipated, and they should get reinforcements. But Ballistic sees something, the rogue taxi from the beginning of the story, and she's somehow able to tell it's inhabited by enemy forces, as well as heading upstate to further the Dark Monarch's plans. Oh no, they're gonna harvest the soul of that uptown girl Billy Joel is always singing about. That brings us to the present, about an hour into their mission, as they shoot up the taxi, and many other cars we just have to assume had bad people in them. Not all dead, as they agree this isn't going to work in the long run. Their foes can find other ways to their destination, and punishing their vehicles isn't quite enough.
If it were, I would spend my days visiting horrible beatings upon miscreants' furniture.
Using the penance stare on a lumpy sofa is far less effective than you might think. Ballistic opens fire on one overturned car's gas tank, then on the fuel that spills out, creating a giant fireball from which they narrowly escape. Gonna be honest with you people, I am not totally sold on this Wacky Races reboot. Once out of the tunnel, the snarky sharpshooter suggests getting drinks, asks if her fiery cohort can even pick his nose, and the comic ends on a close-up of a building some blocks away, as a shadowed figure is seen through the window, extending 3 claws from his fist. Sweet, merciful monkey trumpets! Who would have thought? They've brought in Paste Pot Pete! So yeah, the overarching story kind of advanced behind the scenes, didn't it? Not that we needed to see every single soul that Mephisto corrupted, harvested, whatever, but as the big bad talking about big bad plans, we haven't really seen a whole lot of it. Kind of makes it hard to feel the stakes beyond just knowing the villain is really powerful, that so much just gets mentioned in exposition. Oh yeah, Ghost Rider met Cyberforce, and they totally trusted him off the bat. He was the last one to see one of their teammates, Cyblade, alive, so just send him out to find another one, why not? All on his own. Also, don't mention why they aren't helping with the demon invasion of New York. There's some fun dialogue, banter, and interactions between the two title characters, and along with some fun humor, a lot of nice action. Though I wonder if Ghost Rider would be okay with just exploding people who were manipulated by demons. Seems less like vengeance and more like murder. Or do we assume they were all killers in those cars? I liked the art fine enough, though backgrounds felt a tad vague at times, though admittedly that was for the sake of showing distance, and there are times it does lean toward the cheesecake, not just with Ballistic's cleavage and posing, but also a panel or two suggesting that she's, cold through 2 layers of clothes. Which is weird, since she's always packing heat. Here's some more info about Cassandra Lane. She was subjected to experimentation, had her memories wiped, and made a soldier for a shady organization, much like her new dance partner for the next chapter, Ballistic/Wolverine. The cover sees them in front of a bullet-ridden wall. She looks rather irritated, fair if she's been shot at, while Logan seems like he was just roaring in anger, but is now in mid-sneeze. Also, if you're confused why his claws look weird, this takes place during a time after Wolverine had the adamantium ripped out of him, and it was discovered that his claws weren't implants, but metal covering bone, at the time adding a bit more mystery to the character. He then joined a group of crime-solving teenagers that traveled around the country in a hippie van. Okay, not really, but at one point he did go all feral, and borderline had the speech capabilities of Scooby-Doo. Written by Larry Hama, with art by Joe Benitez, Aaron Soud, Dean White, David Finch, Nathan Cabrera, and Curtis Patrick Arnold, we return to Marvel Earth for a bit. It's New Year's Eve night, and the only reason Wolverine is anywhere near Times Square at this time is because he received an urgent message to meet one Zoe Culloden. She's his contact for the firm Landau, Luckman & Lake, an extra-dimensional financial firm that Logan's done business with for years, with offices across the universe. But they still won't open a branch on Ferenginar. Go figure. Zoe isn't known to be an alarmist, so Logan takes the notes seriously, riding up to a club called Dante's Hole, situated inside an old church, wherein there are, let's say, a lot of people indulging in decadence and debauchery, but he needs to get to the fetish room where he's supposed to meet Zoe, specifically through a door marked WC, which most might interpret as a water closet or bathroom, but actually stands for warp chamber. Ever since an unfortunate janitorial emergency involving a drunken Hulk stumbling in after a stop at Taco Bell, all Landau, Luckman, and Lake offices strictly use outhouses. Inside, instead of Zoe, he finds a man that empties a six-shooter on him, but misses completely.
Well, what do you know? No more bullets.
No more bullets?
Threatening the guy with some serious nasal irrigation, Wolvie wants to know where to find his friend. Mr. Trigger Happy says he was tasked to keep anyone else from walking through the door, and that Zoe is with the mayor. After Mind Blast fails to control the Knucklehead, the goon runs off, and as Logan heads to ground level, he can tell he's in an alternate reality.
Great, now I gotta do another favor for Rick Sanchez if I want to get home.
He sees some masked goons assaulting a man for being too uptight, as the mayor wants unbridled decadence for the ball drop. He tells them they can't do that to the poor guy, but they say they can. We're the law!
I am the law.
Likening them to the Gestapo, he pops his claws and starts doing what he does best, until he's hit with a neural stun blast. Fancy way of saying they tasered him in the noggin. He's momentarily immobilized, and the goons ponder what to do with him, maybe take him to the mayor, but to avoid getting in trouble, they decide to waste him. After several shots, Wolverine finds himself bullet-free, and the so-called law dead on the ground, thanks to Ballistic, who I guess felt the necessity to change clothes while the devil was trying to murder the city. She figured that if Logan got on the bad side of the mayor's bully boys, he must be all right, and, laying her cards on the table, explains that she's recently worked with a guy with a flaming skull.
So I may or may not be playing with a full deck.
A lot of people say that after working with Nicolas Cage. Feeling her alliance with Ghost Rider makes her trustworthy, Logan mentions his friend Zoe is with the mayor, and Ballistic says they have to act fast, as something is going to happen at midnight. Probably something more than just a ball drop. Miss Lane explains she's been looking for her missing team leader, Heatwave.
Sounds like he should be able to zap infrared energy out of his fingertips.
I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a snarky remark or a genuine guess at the guy's powers. Just seems kind of weird for him to say. Anyway, Heatwave disappeared a couple weeks back, and Ballistic has recently found out he's being mind-controlled, calling himself the mayor, and assisted by a serious hitter named Zoe. Wow, you don't say. That's quite the revelation. If only that were shown to us as part of the story instead of an offhand mention and a couple of dialogue bubbles, then it might feel like an important turn of events! Seriously, I checked the Cyberforce ongoing. Issue 30 takes place before Cyblade Ghost Rider, and Issue 31 takes place after Devil's Reign is completed. This is like reading a novel with a bunch of pages just randomly ripped out, missing information that's getting referenced like we should already know it. Moving on, after sneaking into an empty basement, figuring that both Heatwave and Zoe are being mind-controlled, the title characters decide to go after them. Pending a smoke break, of course, because even though the cyborg lady said they had to hurry and time waits for no man, it apparently does wait for the Marlboro Man. At the mayor's mansion, Spire, whatever, one trooper looking like he's taken Red Skull cosplay to the extreme tries to report a problem, but the big man already knows about the two interlopers that could hinder the Great Reaping at midnight, with reason and compassion. Ah, yes, the two things Wolverine is most famous for, reason and compassion. And we also saw a whole lot of that from Ballistic in the last chapter, didn't we, kids? So he fries the goon for his failure. A woman asks if he will keep his promise, and the mayor seems certain that he will. Not like that other one.
I gave J. Wellington Wimpy a hamburger, and he failed to repay me for it on Tuesday. Now all the city shall burn.
Yeah, you can tell that they're talking about Mephisto keeping his promise, but no idea who the other one is supposed to be. And it doesn't get brought up in the subsequent chapters. In a lot of flowery dramatics, the boss says that when the clock strikes 12, any who received the unholy communion will descend into the lake of fire, Provided, I'm assuming, they haven't eaten for an hour, in which case they'll both be burning alive for eternity and have cramping. Elsewhere in the building, our heroes have zip-lined in through a window they shot open. So I guess they also took time to get Logan some tactical gear and weapons. Because, they had to hurry to arm the guy with claws and an animal-like fury. Ballistic figures that since Heatwave's mind was already like a steel trap, he's likely all too aware of their intrusion. She also figures that Mephisto is controlling him because of what Ghost Rider said, and didn't say when they parted ways. It's not so much what he said with his lipless skull face, more what he didn't say with those black vacuous eyes dark as the dead of night. They reach the mayor's office, and he's already aware they've arrived, even knowing Wolvie thanks to Mephisto's influence. Rather than kill them outright, he decides they could be added to the harvested souls, and someone attempts to control them psionically. But since that involves killing neurons, a mutant healing factor and ballistic cyber implants cancel that out. So dead neurons equal mind control. Certainly explains why TV pundits and fake intellectuals with podcasts keep their followers. So back to plan A, just killing our heroes. After taking a few out with Ballistic's thermite grenade, Logan mows down more goons with his gun to clear a path. So I guess one could argue it saves him a bit of time so he can go all slashy on Mayor Heatwave. Unfortunately, Zoe steps in, with a gun powerful enough to knock a charging Wolverine on his back. About to finish him off, which is far less likely given that without his metal bones, Wolvie's healing factor worked much faster and better than before, Ballistic intervenes with a solid punch. This leaves the Knucklehead to tangle with Baldy, but an intense attack, a motility of high temperatures you might say, dazes him for a moment. His abilities enhanced by Mephisto, Heatwave readies a final strike, only to be felled by a rifle blast from Zoe, now back to her senses, pushed over the pain threshold by Ballistic, thus severing the mental link controlling her. I'm sure by pushed over the pain threshold, she means that Ballistic made her step barefoot onto some Legos. With midnight upon them, there remains the people to save, but as Heatwave mentions, there's no saving them once they belong to his demonic master. After 12 strikes of the clock, singing and revelry suddenly stop, and the three walk out into Times Square to see it completely empty, those thousands of celebrants pulled into hell. And Heatwave gets to just leave, I guess. The chapter ends on a very relaxed Sarah Pizzini, the next target of Mephisto, who has a purple face for some reason. Is he practicing holding his breath until she agrees to marry him? That was Ballistic/Wolverine, and it skipped over more story points than the comic before it. I can't imagine that regular readers of Cyberforce were all that invested about the team leader getting brainwashed when it's handled so sporadically. He disappears, gets brainwashed, takes over New York, declares himself mayor. This is all covered by Ballistic based on stuff happening off the pages. It was kind of annoying that some stuff just never got specified, like who was this other person that Heatwave and Zoe were talking about, and was it Mephisto actually trying to psionically attack our heroes, or was that supposed to be one of his other minions that just never got named? I feel like maybe there was some communications hiccup or something, but as I mentioned before, I have yet to be able to find any behind-the-scenes particulars that might explain anything like this. Each chapter has a dedication to Mark Grunwald, as he passed away the year that these comics came out, but since issues are generally prepared months in advance, I doubt that was a factor, though I could be wrong. No real gripes about the art. I can excuse putting Logan in tactical clothes and makeup, as they're trying to be stealthy, but giving him guns just seems pointless, not just because of the claws, but because Ballistic is the sharpshooter. It'd give her more to do with her actual powers if she shot the window, cleared a path of goons, and if more focus was given to how amazing a shot she's supposed to be. Also, kind of a missed opportunity to have these two maybe connect as people that were brainwashed into soldiers that now use violence to help others. But as a single issue that's part of a larger story, with numerous other characters, maybe they couldn't find the room, or didn't think the readers would really care. As it is, they meet, have a common ally in Ghost Rider, and work well together right away. Not that they had to fight before making an alliance, but there's just not much interesting in their dynamic. Almost like either one of them could have been swapped out for another character, and the story wouldn't really change. Next week we see if Mephisto works up the nerve to propose to Witchblade, and maybe we'll find out how many souls are in a 3-month salary for the ruler of hell when he buys the engagement ring. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.